Hey, hi kids. It's Mr. Larry, and I've got another story for you. Yeah, you might wonder why I'm dressed like this. Well, this is because a friend of mine has just tested positive for COVID. Oh boy. So I'm being very careful, and I hope you are too. Uh, but the hat, well, we're going to read a story about a moose and a magpie up in the North Woods. And hey, I'm ready for the North Woods. Are you ready for the North Woods? Let's go. As I said, this story is Moose and Magpie. The author is Bettina Restrepo, and the illustrator is Sherry Rogers. Nice story, nice pictures. Something special this time, though. I'm going to go through the story twice. The first time, I'll just read the story, and you folks read along, please, or look at the pictures. And then I'm going to go back and read it a second time, because guess what? There's little pop-up boxes in the text, sometimes in one place on the page, sometimes in another. But on the second run through, I will read those little boxes and we can just think about that a little bit. It's the facts that go with the made-up story. So if you're ready, are you ready? I'm ready. Let's read. Well, there they are. Moose lived where the willow trees touched the ground and the lily pads floated on the water. Well, there's Moose with friends, and you can see there's that little pop-up box down below. Well, we'll come back to those. Don't worry about them for now. But for right now, we're just going to read the story. And there they are, where the willow trees touch the ground and the lily pads float on the water. How nice. Well, old Moose, his head prickled. He found a tree and rubbed his head against it with all his might. Hey, Moose, quit shaking the tree. I'm trying to eat some bugs up here, said Magpie. Oh, but my head itches. Why don't you come down and eat the bugs that are biting me, begged Moose. Magpie laughed so hard she almost fell off the branch. Your antlers are coming in. Oh, hey, and look at the picture. You can see those little like button things up on his forehead. Yeah. His antlers are starting to grow in. Ooh, let's watch that happen. Wow. Moose's itchy head drove him crazy, and he swam to forget about it. But no matter what, it only felt better when he rubbed his head up against the oak tree, against the trunk of the oak tree and chewed his cud. You know what cud is? Cud is the chewed up grass that he just chews and chews and chews and chews and chews and chews. I don't know why. That's the way moose do, and cows do too. Magpie told him jokes to ease his mind. What do the Liberty Bell and Moose have in common? Well, Moose didn't know much about history. I don't know. Tell me. They both have bells that don't work, cackled Magpie. Well, here I do have to read the little box. Bell, that's what they call the place up there, that floppy part of his skin under his chin. See that? Yeah, that's called a bell for some reason. And it doesn't ring like a bell. So there's her joke. Oh, yeah. And Beaver, he's reading, is that Beaver or Groundhog? Anyway, he's reading Pennsylvania history. Find out about the Liberty Bell. Okay, let's see what happens next. As the summer grew warmer, Moose's antlers grew big as his appetite. He ate as many leaves as he could find to fill his 4 stomachs. 4 stomachs. Every day, Magpie had a new joke. Do moose eat chocolate mousse? Moose thought about the question. What kind of leaves are in it? Magpie shook the branch with her snickering. Moose wouldn't eat mousse. They're herbivores or herbivores, your choice. And we'll talk about that in a little bit too. And chocolate mousse, maybe even we'll talk about that, but let's see what happens next. Oh, look how big his antlers are now. One day, Magpie found Moose by the river to tell him a new joke. Do moose use hair mousse? Moose spit water out of his mouth. I don't even use a brush. Magpie settled on Moose's antlers for an easy ride through the water. You're right. Moose have 2 sets of hair, and they would get too poofy if he used mousse. We'll find out more about that later, too. As summer turned to fall, leaves flittered down from the trees. Magpie spent her days building a bigger nest. Moose rested under the trees. Magpie fluttered down in the evenings to look for bugs on moose. Why doesn't the tooth fairy visit a moose? She asks. Moose had never seen a fairy, only lightning bugs. I never answer your riddles correctly, but this time I know. Moose don't have pillows, so there is no place for the tooth fairy to look. Moose shook his head to make Magpie fly away. She began to sing a tune. The moose went over the mountain, the moose went over the mountain, the moose went over the mountain, because it's time to go. You're right. I'll feel better if I walk towards the mountains, says Moose. Magpie followed him. How do you catch a unique moose? Moose finally thought up an answer. You sneak up on him, he said. Moose perked up his ears. Be quiet, Magpie. I hear hunters. Magpie whispered, how do you catch a tame moose? Moose snorted and stamped his hooves at the bird. Be quiet. Magpie snickered. Tame way. Oh. The hunters thought they heard other humans, so they packed up and went somewhere else to hunt. Whew, good. Moose felt confused and hungry. Mountains were to his right, and the river was to his left. Moose bellowed to Magpie, where are we? This doesn't feel like the right place. Magpie felt sorry for Moose. Why did the moose cross the road? Moose slumped his head. I don't know. Magpie pointed with her wing. He didn't cross the road. He swam in the river to that island over there. Whoa. Hey, look, our buddy down here has a map that shows it. Moose lumbered toward the water and began the long swim to the island in the distance. Magpie sang the entire way. The moose swam in the river, the moose swam in the river, the moose swam in the river and carried me downstream. Oh, look at that. What's going on? Moose watched the bigger moose. He didn't want to get into a fight with them. Magpie asked, why do moose make bad boyfriends? Why? Because they get new girlfriends every year. Well, Moose decided to return to his meadow. No fight for him. Magpie sang to him all the way home. Ooh, now the weather. The weather was cold, and it began to snow. Moose tried to think of a riddle, but his jokes never seemed as funny as Magpie's. Magpie called down from her nest, why did the moose get a ticket for littering? Moose went to scratch his head, but his antlers weren't there. Well, the answer seemed clear. Because he dumped his antlers in the meadow. Aha, he got one. Moose finally had confidence in his joke telling. Why doesn't the moose change his long underwear in the winter? Magpie shook her beak. I don't know. Why? Moose giggled in a snorty kind of way. It's because it's attached to his skin. Magpie laughed and begged for more jokes. Moose said, okay, so two moose walked into a lodge. And that's the end of this story. And you're going to have to finish that joke by yourselves. Work on it, okay? I'm working on it. Wow. Well, there's the story of Moose and his antlers that come out in the spring and last all summer and fall and go away in the winter. And there's his buddies, one still eating chocolate mousse, and others still got the map, and Skunk up there. Looks like he's combing Moose's ears. Magpie, well, she's into jokes, let's guess. And they're all having fun. Let's go back to the first page and talk about those little boxes. Don't get dizzy as we flip back. Here we are. Okay, now you see that little box down at the bottom? Almost looks as if Skunk is holding it up. Don't let it fall on the froggy. Well, and this talks about Moose. Moose live alone, except for a cow with calves. So mom and baby, they'll be together, but otherwise moose just are all by themselves all the time. Wow. And cows. Cows are females, bulls are males, and grow antlers, an itchy process. Well, we use the word cows to talk about just cows, like give us milk. Yeah, and those can be either male or female, I guess. No, we can say bull for that too. But anyway, the cow, when we're talking about mooses and maybe about cows, the cow is the female and the bull is the male. Yeah. And as for those antlers, well, it's itchy when they start to grow out. And that's why they rub and knock their heads against the trees. Look out, Magpie, here he comes again. Now this one, the bell is the floppy part of the skin that hangs off a moose's throat. Bells can be 2 feet long. Woohoo! But so far, scientists aren't sure what they're used for, although there are several different theories. Maybe it doesn't have any use. Maybe it's just decoration, like my beard. Although it has some uses. It makes me feel good when I'm riding my bicycle in the wind and the wind goes through it. That's why I like it. Ooh, here's a small one. Herbivores or herbivores only eat plants. Yeah, carnivores only eat meat. Omnivores eat everything. I'm kind of like that, but I'm vegging on turning towards being an herbivore. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Might be healthier. Might be cheaper. Might be better for the planet. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, there's his chocolate mousse. Oh, I wanted to mention the chocolate mousse too. That's a kind of a chocolate pudding, I guess. So it's not a mousse in a box. It's a kind of a chocolate pudding in a box. Yum, yum, raccoon. Yum, yum. Okay, thank you. Let's see that next one. Whoa, this is a longer box. The layer of hair closest to the moose's skin is like thermal underwear. The outer layer of hair is hollow and acts as insulation against the cold. That hollow outer layer of hair helps the moose float while it swims. Well, what do you know? I didn't know that. Did you know that? Wow. And so that fluffy hair that's down deep underneath, that inside layer of hair, that keeps the heat in. Maybe you've seen that on a dog. Dogs sometimes have fluffy hair underneath and big long hair on the outside. Yeah, and maybe that's their secret too. Helps them keep warm. They get rid of it in the summertime. They shed. Oh boy, do they shed, but that's another story. Well, here's another short one. Moose migrate to mate. Okay, so they've been out there all by themselves in the woods. Yep, seldom see another moose. They spend a lot of time in the water and in the meadows around the water, just living a life and taking it easy and mainly eating things, lots of greenery. But when it's getting time to find a partner and mate, then they migrate and they seem to go to the same place so that the bulls, those males, can fight with each other, and the big guy, the guy with the biggest antlers or whatever, maybe it's just the luckiest guy, you never know, he'll end up being the daddy to next year's baby moose. And for the guys that lose the fight, well, they just go off and head back to the woods and eat some more greenery in the meadows and swim in the water. Next year they'll try again. Maybe they'll be the boss bull moose next year. Who knows? I don't know. Anyway, let's see what happens next. Whoa. The hunters left this area. You remember in the story, the hunters thought they heard some people talking. Who did they hear? Aha. The hunters left the area because of Magpie. Some magpies can imitate human voices. Oh, kind of like a parrot. Now, that's not the best picture of Magpie because she's really kind of curled around Moose's ear trying to whisper to him, but a little bit loud, which is a good thing in this case. Do you have magpies where you live? I don't have magpies around me now, but twice I have. When I lived out west, I had magpies all the time. And when I lived in Germany, I had magpies there too. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, they are beautiful birds, big, long tails. The bird itself is bigger than a crow, or maybe the same size. And their feathers are bright, shiny, and they turn different colors depending on how the light hits them. Sometimes it's kind of a metallic green or blue. They're a really pretty bird, and the white accents around, just like my white accent on my throat today. It's my mask. Anyway, very pretty birds. Find some pictures of magpies. Okay, let's see what's next. Moose, yeah, what's going on? Well, we don't know for sure. Just like we don't know about the bell that's growing on his throat, scientists don't know how some migrating animals know where to go. They seem to know by instinct. Well, I guess humans don't really have instincts. Animals have them, and that's kind of an intelligence inside them that they were born with. They didn't have to learn. It was just there. And it shows them where to go. And there's all kinds of theories about that, having to do with stars and the sun and the moon and magnetism, all kinds of theories. And it goes for butterflies too. Wow. Gee, interesting to think about. Well, let's see what happens next. Well, some moose swim up to 5 miles during migration. Whew, they are strong. Swimming is not easy for an animal that big. Heck, it's not easy for an animal as big as I am. I don't like to swim long distances. I like to just short distances. More fun for me, less tiring. But those moose, they can do it. I don't know if they do 5 miles all at once or if they break it up into short stints, but when they're headed for the mating grounds, they'll swim. So let's see what's next. Aha, bulls challenge each other for a cow's attention. Aha, they don't just say, well, hello there, how are you today? No, the one bull will find another bull and they will fight. And the guy that, well, we'll find out here. The strongest bull, usually with the biggest antlers, gets the cow. That's not always true, just usually. Yeah, there's some other factors that go into it too. Strategy, skill, learning through the years of fighting and fighting. Yep. And, that fighting thing, if it's part of the instinct, okay. But as for fighting in general, I'm glad I'm a human. I don't have to fight, mostly. Well, not ever anymore. That's nice. Let's finish this little box. Bulls don't eat as much as usual during the breeding season, which is called the rut. So there's only one breeding season per year. And during that time, the bulls don't eat as much. Maybe that's because they'd be all full and just want to lay around and digest, chew their cud, as it were. But they know that they've got to get out there and fight another bull and see what happens. I'm rather glad that my life isn't like that. Let's see what happens next. Ooh, antlers are made of bone. Gee whiz. When they fall off, once a year they do, bugs, birds, mice, and other animals nibble on them. Woohoo! Deer lick the fallen antlers for extra vitamins. By spring, most antlers have disappeared or have been eaten, nibbled away, licked down to nothing. My goodness. Or maybe, as in the case of our buddies over there, maybe they made a snowman and put the antlers on that. But I don't think that would happen in real life. What do you think? Let's see next. Whoa, ho, ho. Look, there's no box on this page, so let's just all have a laugh together. Ho, ho. More jokes, please. And on the next page, are there any boxes? No, it's just the story again. Wow. Okay, so two moose walked into a lodge, and the lodge master said, well, you fix it up. I don't know what happened next. I'll go think about that. And let's see what's on our activity pages. Oh my goodness. Is it for real, moose and birds? Well, here's all kinds of things to look at and think about, maybe for a class project in school or homeschool, or maybe on your own. I like to do a lot of stuff on my own, but don't tell. Did you hear that? Mhm. I like to do a lot of stuff on my own, thinking and reading and studying, research on the web. Yeah, I don't just play. I do some, but I like to think about stuff too. And I think there's one more page. Let's take a quick look at it. Oh, there they are again. All those facts, all those boxes. I'm not going to get into them. You might want to. Anyway, I'm glad you joined me today for a story and a half. Ho ho. And I hope you're having fun. I hope that you are studying hard, working hard, playing hard. Well, do we play hard? I guess. Play as much as you want to anytime you get the chance, right? Be happy and healthy, real nice to each other and everybody else. Take really good care, and I'll see you next time. Peace and love. Bye-bye.